He was a darling little boy. I enjoyed every minute that I had him, but he was full of humor. Even when he was tiny, when he was 2, 3 years old, he was just a pleasure to raise.
Well, I haven't really grown up yet. I've grown old. I was born in Bakersfield, California, a little redneck town about 98 miles north of here, middle of nowhere. The only Jew in a cowboy town. That was difficult. No, it wasn't too bad. Everybody celebrated Christmas and I didn't. So I made my dad buy me something just to make me feel better. But it was interesting because my parents had a children's store down on Main Street of town, clothing and furniture, and they did really well with it. In high school, I started playing guitar, and I formed a rock band back in 1958. And I had no interest in working out at the time, nothing like that. It was just guitar. And we became the best band in town because there were only 2 bands. Now, actually, there were a lot of them. But back then, bands would play, there'd be dances like at the Armory. I was a really good lead guitarist, and if I made $30 for a night, it was a lot of money. This is in 1959 and 58. And so I bought myself a Fender Jazzmaster guitar, which I still have today, for $400, which was a lot of money back then. It's worth about 20 grand today. I thought that music was going to be my thing. I'm playing in a band. My parents are proud of me. They always come down. I got a deal with Capitol Records. I played at the Hollywood Palladium. I won the Battle of the Bands at the Palladium. Played at the Hollywood Bowl and played Sunset Strip, and then went to Vegas and played teenage nightclubs because I wasn't 21 yet. But during that time, I took a look in the mirror and I was about 145 pounds. I said, I think I need to start working out. Reading Weeder's magazines, I packed 20 pounds of muscle on in 6 weeks. And I thought, what do you do? Take hamburger and just slap it on, and become big overnight. But I started doing it and I thought, it's going to be a challenge. I had a girlfriend that was a year older than me in high school. She was a homecoming queen. She was on the swim team. She was the most popular girl in school. And here I am with an older woman, 1 year older. She had 2 cousins she lived with that were training, and they played football. I wasn't playing any sports at the time. So I started training with them. And 6 months into it, she looked at me and she says, oh my God, Rick, you're getting awfully lumpy. And I said, isn't that what this is about? Isn't it about putting on muscle? Yeah, but I don't know. I said, I like it. I'm going to continue doing it. And that was when it was only YMCAs, the bent bars, and you do a bench press and go like this the whole time, and the cable pull downs would fray and they hit you and they'd cut you all the way down. But I hung in there and I went every day and trained every day, and I played in the band at night. And while people were out on Friday nights having fun, I'm working out and then I'm going to do a dance. So I just started to build my body, and it started to shape up pretty well. And I entered a Mr. Central California contest in Fresno and won it. And my dad had passed away. I was 18. He was taking me to wrestling matches since I was a kid on Thursday nights at the local arena, and we were always watching wrestling. I thought, well, that's cool. That's kind of fun. Much different back then than today. This is when it was actually believable, but you weren't sure, but you didn't know, but you thought it was. And teeth are flying and blood's flying and spit's flying, but it wasn't overkill, so it was just enough to make you believe it. Well, after that working out, I'm thinking to myself, I'm in the entertainment business and I'm living in a small town. There's not much chance of doing anything here. But every Thursday night, these wrestlers would come to town, just like they come to Gold's now. Old school guys, and they would come in on Thursday nights and hit the YMCA, then they go do their match. So I approached one of them. I said, I'm thinking about getting into the business. They looked at me and said, you got a really good body, you should. We don't have any guys that built like you, other than Earl Maynard at the time. And so, but you need to be trained, and you need to be trained by a pro. And no pros are training anybody because they don't have a facility other than Johnny Mae Young, who was a female. She was the world's champion at the age of 40. And she was down here at the Olympic Auditorium. They had a makeshift ring upstairs in an office on a hardwood floor with some mats. So I got upon myself and drove down to Los Angeles, met her. I can remember the smell of Aquanet hairspray in her hair, and she looked at me and she was like pretty tough. She said, let me see you without your shirt. And she says, I can make some money with you. So she took me in, she threw me around, body slam, dropped some elbows, had me do this. I had mat burns all over me. My mom had gone with me because my father had passed away. My mom was very supportive. And she waited out in the stands at the Olympic Auditorium, 14,000 seats with pigeons flying in and out. And she hears me bouncing around in there, and I come out and she says, so let's go home. I said, well, we got to go eat, then we got to go home because I got to be back here tomorrow. You're coming back, you're going to do this. I said, yep. 2 hours each way, Bakersfield, every day, 5 days a week, 3 hours in the ring. Training with a few other guys, a couple of girls, and then after about 6 months, I got my first match on Channel 5. And it was a guy named Buddy Killer Austin, who I had seen wrestling as a younger guy, and I thought to myself, this guy I never want to go against. This guy's brutal. Big man, about 6'3", big head, big hands, big belly, skinny arms, but eyes on the side of his head. When he looked at you, he looked around you. I thought, oh my God, this guy I never want to wrestle. Well, I go down to the arena and May says, you're going to be working with Buddy Killer Austin. He's going to come in here and look at your training and talk to you for a little bit. Back then, there was Mr. Moto, Freddie Blassie, Buddy Austin, all these guys in the office. And back then, the tradition was those guys all wore Hawaiian shirts, khaki pants, and shower thongs. That was the uniform. So he comes in, and he looks at me, he's limping, he's got that wrestler walk that we all have now. And he locks up with me in the ring, and he locked up, and we're supposed to be loose. He locked up so hard, his big hand hit me so hard, I actually went black and saw stars. I said, this is what it's going to be. He said, I like to lock up hard, then I get loose and we'll work. So okay, fine. So we did the Channel 5 match. Went real well, perfect. Did a little bit of that, and then in 1969, I moved here to Los Angeles. I made the move. So they started booking me like 5 nights a week. I was training at Bill Pearl's gym in Inglewood. That was a really good gym. I mean, it was really good, but it was in the middle of like Watts, you know, it's all black. And I'm the only white guy, pretty much, Jewish white guy. But it worked out fine. And then I was living in Torrance, and I said, no, Santa Monica is where I want to be. I love Santa Monica. We'd hang out at Zookie's, and that's when I met Arnold, and we started training together. Wrestling at night, and in the morning I worked at the gym a little bit just to open up the desk, just to help out. But then mainly I was going out on commercial auditions and collecting unemployment. And then I got my first heavy Chevy commercial with Arnold, Reg Lewis, Charlie Faust, Jim Morris, Don Chewy from the Rams. And that was the first introduction to being in the film business. Made $1,000. I said, this can work. So I got an agent, which really wasn't too hard to do. Got the movie Ben with the Rats, played a gay gym instructor, ran forever. Got the FBI series as a gangster, and from that point on, it just started to snowball. Still training at Gold's, and then Joe Gold had sold Gold's and went out to sea as a merchant marine. It changed hands. In '73, Ken Waller was managing it, and he and Arnold and I went down to Zookie's Deli where we all hung out. And they knew that I was an artist because I've always doodled and always drew caricatures in high school and t-shirts and this and that. And they said, we need a t-shirt for Gold's Gym. I said, okay, what do we think we should draw? And he said, what about a Mr. Clean? And I said, well, I've always wanted to shave my head, but I had a lot of hair back then. I said, I don't want to ruin it yet. When it starts to go, I'll shave it. But I have an idea. And I drew the little bald-headed weightlifter for Gold's, which became the largest selling logo in the world. And I did it as a favor. I didn't sign a release. I signed my name to it. They printed about a dozen shirts. They sold. They printed another dozen, and pretty soon it was a gross, and they sold. And then I made a front and back design of Gold's Gym guy on a tank top. And we only did a dozen shirts, and that was it. I have the only existing one now. I don't know where the rest of them are, and I still have 4 of the originals. Well, time went on. Joe Gold came back from sea, and he says, I want to open the gym again, but he sold his name. It'd be like me selling Ric Drasin. I can't ever use it. I got to change it to John Smith. So he opened up World Gym, owner Joe Gold, and he came to me and he says, Rick, I need a logo for the gym. I said, what do you want? And he says, I want an animal. So we tossed some things around, and I said, how about a gorilla? And he said, that'll be fine. So I drew the gorilla sitting on the weights, the world. My name was right under the ass. That became the 2nd largest logo in the world. And then from that point, I came up with my own line of t-shirts, bodybuilding, stay hard longer, bodybuilder, stay hard longer. Nothing feels as good as a nice snatch. So all these designs, and I put them in Muscle Digest and Iron Man, and I started making money selling shirts and having them printed. At that time, Arnold introduced me to Joe Weider, and Joe says, why don't you advertise in my magazine? I said, I can't afford it. It's $800 a month, which is now $25,000 a month. He said, Rick, if you model for me and do product shots, I'll give you free ad space every month. So I said, fine. So we started doing that, and I started seeing myself in the magazine with the guys who I saw in the magazines as a kid. Here I am, one of them now, and I'm getting this nice ad with all my shirts, and I came out with keychains with bodybuilders on them, license plate frames, said I'd rather be pumping iron, baseball caps, and back then, it was 1980, I was making $86,000 a year out of my garage, just shooting out mail order. Taught myself how to airbrush, started airbrushing shirts, unique ones and selling those. That was fun but messy. So then I taught myself how to do tattooing. So I started doing tattooing out of my house, and then I started to get the gangbang element, and I didn't want them there. So I said, no, I don't want to do that. So I started doing computer graphics, doing my website and doing designs on the computer and animation. Went into doing some editing, some video editing and web design, and that's where I am with that now because it was something that was my passion. But I still played my guitar. I had 2 boys, Adam 31, Shane 29 now. I taught them both how to play guitar. They had a band from the ages of 5 years up, really good. Adam plays country. Shane became a composer, and he produces music for Burn Notice 90210, Lincoln Heights, Everybody Hates Chris. He's doing a feature film. He's doing Ella Fitzgerald movie. I have a daughter who's going to be 19, who's a photographer at Pasadena Art Center. She and my son Shane work together. He produces the music, she shoots the album covers. And my wife has an after-school enrichment program. She's had it for 15 years. I don't know how many schools she has, but like 12 instructors, anywhere from hip-hop to gymnastics to dance to filmmaking to cooking, you name it. She went back to get her master's in dietetics because she's big into fitness and she's going to work with children who are obese and have diabetes. This will kind of go hand in hand with what I'm doing because for the past 15 years, I have a pro wrestling school in my backyard. I think I have the only pro wrestling school around that takes kids 10 years and up. So I deal with a lot of children, a lot of celebrities' kids, and some have eating disorders, and I have some that are autistic, and she's dealing with one right now on his diet, so we kind of can work together on this thing. And because of this, I've had every network possible come out and shoot videos on me, to shoot my school and shoot what I do and to shoot my background because it's so unique. And because of that, I started writing articles for bodybuilding.com, Universal Nutrition. And then the funny thing about it is with kids, they really suck this stuff up. They want to wrestle, but it's more than beating people up. It's more than jumping off the top rope. It's about self-esteem, how to connect with people, how to work with them as a team, learning crowd psychology, your personality, your persona in the ring, mic skills, speaking on a microphone. So I had them learn how to do promos, and they stumble over words and this and that. And so I'd have them watch it. And I said, well, let me try this. Let's move into my garage. I had a big AWF banner, and we'll put them on YouTube. And we did. And I started getting a lot of responses. Then one thing led to another. I started interviewing them back and forth, back and forth. And someone said, why don't you do an interview show? I said, yeah, not a bad idea. What will I call it? How about Ric's Corner, Corner of the Ring? There you go. So I started Ric's Corner, started getting celebrities, started getting wrestlers, legends, Gene LaBelle, people like that, Roger Lodge from Blind Date, Luke Perry, Robert Patrick from T2, and Albert Beckles. And next thing I knew, it became one of the most popular things on YouTube. And it's the #1 video on bodybuilding.com. And now I have 1 million viewers. So now I'm going to take it to the next level and see how far I can go with it and see what I can build it into. Because in life, you have several roads. It's like an octopus, and I have an octopus tattoo in my arm, which means all these different roads lead you in different directions. And you have to explore and experiment to see which one you want to go into and just kind of get off into another world. So there's no end to those roads. You just keep going. You might not take this one, but maybe you'll go back later and take it. But that's how you learn, and that's how you evolve and you become better at what you do. And I'll be 66 in 2 weeks. I'm not stopping. I'm still going forward. I can't wrestle anymore. I got torn quads in 2001, shoulders bad, ripped tricep, and then Joe Gold gave me a big table saw back in the 70s, and he said, you want this saw? I said, yeah, I'm adding some stuff to my house. And I still have that saw. This is what he built all of his equipment with. And one day on Halloween, I'm building something. I look up some molding. All of a sudden, I lean down, cut 3 fingers off. These 2 they sewed back on. This one's missing. And that was Joe Gold's saw. Anyway, it's fine. I can still use it. I can't see scary movies because I can't hide my eyes. I tell her I'm home at 3:15, that type of thing. And I can only count to 9. But it's all right. It's worked out for me. And it created a character. I called my agent right away. I said, look, when you send me out for bad guys, I'm missing a finger. And I actually used it when I go out to restaurants and I make the waiters freak out, that type of thing. But it's been a good life. I mean, it's been quite a journey. I'm very, very close with my family. My kids are very, very close with me. My son and my daughter are best friends. We hang out together. They call me 10 times a day. We do everything together. There's not a day goes by that I don't tell them how much I love them and give my kids good night. That's what life's about. My mom lived till almost 97. She died 3 months ago. I was very close with her. Took her out for coffee every day. We talked about everything in the world. She told me when I'm gone, I'll be right there. I'll make some sort of a gesture. And by God, since the day she died, I've had nothing but good luck. I don't know what it is, but she's there. And 97 is a long life. If I make it partly there, I'll be happy. So I plan on going forward with the Ric's Corner, seeing what I can do. I've got a reality show. I've had 2 in development for several years. In this business, you never know if it's going to go or not, but you keep pushing because it could happen. And it's based on my kids wrestling. I call them Bad News Brawlers. And it's about how they evolve and become better at what they do and how they become better people, but then they have the real live match at the end of the show. And then I have another one, it's called Invasion of the Body Slammers, where I will travel around like the movie with Mickey Rourke, the Indie League, because most people don't know that wrestling is more than WWE. It's a whole underground market of wrestling in different cities. Every weekend there's a show somewhere. These guys never make it to the top because no one sees them. So if I go around and I explore and I bring these people forward and show who's who, and I might take a counterpart with me, either a female or a midget. I tend to lean towards the midget wrestler because we can have some conflict. And show 2 guys from each league after 6 weeks. Then we culminate into one big show of the indie league, just like you see on TV, and put them on TV and let them be seen. So that's my plan. And it's going to work because I have not, maybe I'm naive, maybe I'm stupid. I just don't believe in no. You've got to go forward. You've got to move forward.